evening, guys. It's Sunday at 10 p.m. Of course it is, and this is your APAT show. Leigh, it's been a cracking week, and tonight promises to be a cracker as well. Who have we got in the virtual studio?
Well, it's lots to talk about, whether it's poker or football or generally what's going on in the world. So who else would we have but the one and only Natalie Bromley? Good evening to you.
Hello. How are we, gentlemen?
Welcome, Natalie. We're well, but more to the point, how are you? What have you been up to this week? Never a dull moment in the life of one Natalie Bromley.
I am really well, thank you. And I have been up to all sorts, as I'm sure you would expect. Yeah, lots going on. Fingers in lots of pies. We're
going to talk about pies tonight, guys. We are going to talk about pies, but before we talk about pies, let's talk about prize. Leigh, we're following the millions, right, on GGPoker. A hell of a lot to talk about there. And you've got a stack.
Well, it's a tiny stack.
Oh, okay. It's a little stack.
So I popped a quick post up in the group yesterday just to say who was going to give the millions a go this time round. I had about 20 bigs going into day two. But the great thing is, Des, if you qualify for day two, you're in the money. So very much like an APAT live event. Nice. Once you qualify for money. AD Lovelock also posted up to say he had a much bigger stack than I did. I think AD had about 200,000 going into this day two.
Oh, that's a brag.
I only had about 50,000, but as I mentioned to you just before I came on air, I've been trying not to play hands so I could. But I played one hand and I got pocket queens against pocket seven, so I doubled up. But I've pretty much been folding ever since, so I could basically get this on the show. I mean, that's the things we do, the sacrifices that we make. AD is still going; he's still in the comp. I've got his table up. I can actually. Do you know what I can? How good is this? Look, there we go. I will switch. That's AD's table. He's in a hand right to speak. See, AD01. He's got 154,000. He's in a hand right at this moment, which he's just won a little pot there. So we can keep an eye. We'll keep an eye on AD as well. If anybody else happens to be in the Global Millions,
let us know.
It is a bounty edition at the moment. So yeah, let us know and we can see if we can monitor you on your table. I don't think I'm going to be in for very much longer, to be honest. There is still 2,391 runners left in this, but we're only now, we're not far off, I think, a pay jump. So we've got a little bit more money coming my way. I've already banked $80, Des, plus a little bit of bounties. Yeah, so we're okay. So we're looking
covered your petrol
good.
To and from the event, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, to my home office and back. Yeah, so it's all good from that point of view. So we'll keep an eye on that, and I'll let you know. Now, the other good thing I will just say, whilst we're briefly on this, I'll go back to my table so you can see is. So I've got switched on what's GG call it's like a streamer setup.
Okay.
So what that does is it doesn't show the cards where you'd normally see them when you're playing. It adds another little bar at the bottom of the table, which you guys can't see, where it shows me my cards. And then it gives me a little button with an option of actually revealing my cards where you would normally see them.
Nice.
So for streamers, I mean, there's lots of gimmicks in poker that people go, is that really worth it? But that's a really, really neat. So you guys will have remembered previously when we've done some live streaming, I've got a little thing over my card so you can't see them, and then I can remove everything. Well, but this is all built into the software. So for streamers, how cool is that? You can do it. I'll show you now. So I'll show you what I've got.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna fold it. So there you go.
Wow, look at that.
So and away it goes. How neat is that?
Very nice. Look, we've got a lot to learn about GG, right? We're on there now. People are going to be piling in over the next week or two. We've got a big welcome event next week. No, in fact, it's this week. It's on the 27th.
Thursday.
Am I right?
Thursday
27th,
night. Yeah,
right?
Thursday
so
night,
this week, we're already into this week. We're going to have a lot of people streaming in. We're going to need to learn a lot about GG. I mean, for example, I'm looking at this table here. It's very dark, right? It's very dark for streaming, but you're telling me that's probably the theme of the Millions event, right? It
is the theme of the Millions event, and it's bounty. So it's a little bit Wild West kind of theme to it. So it is just a little bit dark on this particular setup. It is fixed for these kind of really key tournaments. So for the others, you can change it up. So we will do that.
So we're gonna have to figure some of this stuff out. We'll do that over the next few days, I'm sure. And I think for the welcome event, Leigh, we're going to do something, right? We're going to do sort of a night of streaming. We're going to cover the event. We'll have some guests on. We might give some goodies away. If we can get some goodies, I'm sure we can. So that sort of brings me back to, do you remember that NHS event that we covered during
the one that Joe
Chillmade won,
right? Yeah.
Which was a brilliant night. So pile in, guys, right? Pile in. We're going to have a lot of fun in that event. And there's no doubt it's going to be a ton of APATers playing, as you would expect.
Yeah. What I should say is that those details went out on Thursday. Obviously, the announcement that we were partnering up with GG, and that we've got this welcome party tournament on Thursday night at 8 o'clock. We've also it should be out on a mailer as well. For anyone that's wondering, well, where's the password for it? Well, I mean, I'm the only one registered for it at the moment, guys.
Soon,
I'm feeling like my chances of winning it are quite good at the moment. So I don't know. I'm kind of not sure.
Password, we're not giving that out.
Yeah, I don't know whether we want to. I mean, we might give the password out on the show tonight. We might do it beginning of next week. I mean, or I might just decide, you know what? Those 100 T-shirts, that, can you imagine? That'll keep me going for years.
I'm trying to think of the next Hearts of Queens sort of lottery promotion with 100 brand spanking new multi-sized.
Could you imagine how many times we'd need to spin that wheel for my name not to come up?
As long as we don't have any party poker glassware, then I think we're good to go, right? I'm looking forward to it for one.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
Leigh, we have a bunch of good people out there in the chat box. So guys, get your comments in. So if you've got questions or thoughts on GG or on, Leigh and 80s run in the millions, football, whatever it might be, we've just got a ton of stuff to cover tonight. But we already have some of the guys in there. So the Oracle is there. Evening to you, Simon. Ace is there as well. Evening all. Now we know Asa, right? He has to have a relatively early one on a Sunday night because he gets up, frankly, at a shocking time on a Monday morning. Tony G is out there. Evening all. Tony's got bad news. He's gutted. I've already got plans on Thursday for the GG welcome event. Tony, just change them, right? Just change your plans. Simple as that.
Tony, just buy into it. Just buy into the comp. It's $5. When just register for it. You never know. You might go all the way and pick up a T-shirt for just for blinding out. I mean, you never know.
To be honest, just for coming onto the stream on Thursday night, perhaps. The captain is there, Mr. Pilgrim. Evening to you, Carl. And we've got a question. Coming in from Simon. What was the buy-in to this event, Leigh? Can you just explain the day one situation?
So
what the sort of prize pool is?
So it's the prize pool. There's the clues in the name. Yeah. So the prize pool, it's guaranteed at $1 million, folks. Nice. This one tonight actually got 1.4 million. It's got a decent amount in it. It's a $50 buy-in. You can actually satellite into those $50 day ones. They run a lot of day ones for it. Basically, I think they pay 12% of the field. So basically, if you can get through 12% of a day one, you're into a day two with the stack, and then you're away to go. 9:30 it starts on a Sunday night, the day two. I played it a couple of weeks ago, Des. I'm not thin brag here, obviously. I finished about 170th, something like that. I busted about 1 o'clock in the morning, finishing about 170th. So to give you an idea, you can go fairly deep without it still being too much of a late time. Obviously, if you're going deeper than that, well, you don't really mind the later finish,
Cash,
do you?
Right?
Because it's
nice.
Of course it is. Yeah.
So what's up top, Leigh?
So up top it's slightly different for this particular one because obviously it's a bounty. So as we've always said when we did the stream of the bounties, the top two prizes are the same, and obviously you get a big chunk on top for a bounty. So the top two prizes are about 43,000 each, plus whatever they picked up in the way of bounties throughout the comp. But if you're winning this, you're probably doubling that 43,000 in bounties as a minimum. And we've seen in previous experience, some people can really absolutely crush that. So
a nice payday guaranteed. And I think from a format point of view, particularly with the APAT show in mind, and here's one for you, Natalie, right? This is interesting. GG as an operator, they don't like their partners putting on events on a Sunday night because they want all of the focus on the big network events. I sort of get that.
I get that.
So Leigh and I were sort of thinking, well, we carry on with the APAT show on a Sunday night, right? We were contemplating, do we move it to a Thursday or a Friday or, some other night in the week to culminate with the end of the leaderboard ladders in that week, or poker squads, or whatever the promotion might be. So that's the plan, in which case we're probably going to focus in on this event. So, maybe there'll be some free tickets, or there'll be some ways that we can help you guys to qualify into this event. But it could be really cool to put some focus on the poker and follow APAT players' progress in this event. So we'll see how that goes over the next couple of weeks.
And obviously next Sunday, even more so, once we've run our welcome event, where there's a lot of $15 tickets into the Road to Vegas promotion that's currently running at the moment. So, fingers crossed, maybe one or two APATers might have spun that $15 up to the $1,200 buy-in on the Sunday, with the possibility of trying to win a $12,000 package to Vegas. So we can but hope,
Yeah, I'm starting my satellites this next week, just to try and see. I'm going anyway. I'm going to be in Vegas from the 21st of June to the something of July. And I...
the something of July is a kind of I may just stay.
Depends on how deep in the main event I am, to be honest.
I suppose I should come back, but I might just stay. So
depends on how well it goes. But yeah, it's one of those where need to start ramping up the qualification to.
So what's
Vegas.
your plans, Natalie? When you talk about going to Vegas for a chunky period of time, is that all poker? Is there a bit of R&R with Adam in there? What's the plan? As far as you know,
poker. It's all poker.
I love it.
Yeah, I tend to finish my schedule the day before I fly home, so I'll have the very last day of the trip off, and I'll have a day of fun, which can be anything. Still not made it to the canyon yet, but I'll do loads of different things. This summer is going to be lower buying events rather. I have had a couple of trips where I've had very heavy World Series events, mainly because I'm at a critical stage at the moment with renovating a very old house that I bought, which is in desperate need of renovation. And we always knew at some point that Vegas would have to take a back seat while that was finished, because you can't do both. You can't do everything in life. So I am incredibly privileged to be going out in the first place. I'll be playing.
Natalie. Explain what happened here, because they probably weren't going to go to Vegas this year. And then somebody popped round for breakfast on Sunday morning whilst they were in Blackpool.
In the space of 2 hours of Leigh Wiltshire being in my house, we'd gone from, we're really concerned about Vegas this summer. We think this is probably the summer we're going to have to give it a miss, because we've got to finish things that are falling apart in this house. By the time he left, we'd booked it. We were going, the dates were in the diary, and I just needed to sort things.
We're doing a heavy schedule.
Carpet.
Dear God.
So it's not my schedule's not too bad. From a World Series perspective, I'll be playing the ladies event. I'll be playing the
When does the ladies take place in the schedule, Natalie?
It's in week 1, I think.
So obviously the ladies then and stretch into July. Are you going for the whole of June and a bit of July?
No. Sorry, not the first week of June. The first week of my trip is the ladies. It's like the 27th, something like that.
Okay, so that's perfect. Perfect.
So I'll play that. I'm playing a tag team, and I'm playing the mini as well. But then everything else will be smaller events at like Venetian and like Golden Nugget and just like the other festival events that are on there.
Am I right in saying that you and Adam had a good run in the tag event last year? How far?
Not last year. It was the year before.
Was it the year before? Time.
Yeah. Time flies. Yes. No, it wasn't. No, because that would have been COVID year, and we went down in November. Then maybe the year before. Yes, we have. We've played it 3 times. Twice got absolutely battered, and once, we had a deep run in it. No, last year I had a really deep run in the ladies. I think that might be the one that you're thinking of last year. I finished in the top 50 in the ladies last year, so I'll be hoping to go one step further.
Why not?
Win it. That would be very nice.
Would you? Do you do stuff like putting out packages and what have you? Do you look for staking?
No. I've never have done. 2 things from a confidence perspective. I can't believe anybody would ever buy any action in me. That's just a self-doubt thing. But also, I do worry that I always think I would play differently when I'm playing.
Yeah, it might change your dynamic.
Yeah.
Well, that's a fair call.
No, I'll be. No, I've got 100% of myself, so I'll be spending that 300 grand that I win for the ladies.
Well, when you put it like that, it sort of makes perfect sense. So you talked about qualifying, and crikey, don't feel we're having a GG week, as it were, but don't feel you need to talk about GG here. But where do you qualify? How do you qualify? What's your favorite sort of route to try and bag some?
Well, at the moment, the only qualification route to the main event before you get out there is on GG. So I will be playing the road to Vegas just to try and get a main event seat.
Have you had a look at the promo, Natalie? Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
It looks
I have,
decent.
yeah,
Or I mean, what do you think?
One of the things that I really like about it is that there's opportunities every single day. And when you are not a pro player and my time is limited and I don't know what days of the week I'm going to have finished work early enough to sit down and play, I need to have options without having to, you know, think about it too much. So I really like that. And I like the steps as well.
I was just going to say, now, I mean, just not that we're going, down, going crazy here, but just as an example, obviously they have the regular a daily sort of $1,200 satellite. They also do obviously a massive one on the Sunday. So this week's one is like 14 packages guaranteed, I think it is, on the Sunday night. But they've got one running now. There's actually 12 minutes late reg in it. There's 2 packages guaranteed. The buy-in is $54.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So it's got 335 runners in it, right? And let's see whether it's overlaying by a reasonable bit. So you've got 12 minutes to get back into this. So basically $54 if you wanted to have a go. There's 2 seats guaranteed. It's overlaying by it's overlaying by $7,000.
Wow.
This one at the moment. But $54 could win you a $12,000 package.
Nice.
On the Sunday. I mean, that's just ridiculously good, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Really,
really
really is.
Good.
Yeah. But whilst I looked away, I looked back up. Man down, I'm afraid. AD has departed from the Global Millions we have. So just me still going. And the reason I'm still going, as Simon pointed out in the chat, is because my VPIP is 9. Well, it's actually 8 now, to be honest, Simon. So let's not go crazy. I'll be honest, I didn't even know what that number meant on the screen, but apparently that little number 8 that was a number 9 apparently is my VPIP. Whatever that is, I've no idea.
Is that your level of tightness, Leigh?
Well, basically, I mean, I have on purpose not been playing any hands, so you're
trying to do this as well, right?
Yeah. So we'll do that as well. So one thing I need to do though, right? Because and I said I'd do it because we mentioned that Aces is for the show earlier on. So for those of you that were at Blackpool last week, Acer had prepared a cracking little football trivia thing, which they all sat in the casino and we're going through them. Now we've done this a couple of times. We've done one at the Worlds last year, which I just ran. It was impromptu, really, to be honest. Just kind of like start talking trivia, on whatever it is. So, but Acer had organized. Now he sent me. There's these questions. There's about 50 of them, and there's some absolute tricks. So I've just picked a few, and I'll pop them up on screen, and we can have a chat about it. And I'll leave them up there for a little while, and say feel free to pop in the chat. Now, if you were at Blackpool last week, I mean, no spoilers for those that weren't. So let me remove the date and bring up question number 1 then. So question number 1. Who's the only player to have played in all 14 rounds of the FA Cup?
Oh, I've got a theory on that.
Okay, so you can pop in the chat if you want to have a go. Once we've said we'll leave it up for a little bit whilst we're chatting other stuff, and I'll leave it on the screen for a while. So first, I got three for tonight. So first one is who's the only player to have played in all 14 rounds of the FA Cup? So
when we say all 14 rounds, literally like before, but starting with the lower league ones at right at the
have to be.
So it'll be qualified. It'll be like first qualifier or whatever, or pre, whatever it's going to be. So
Does he have a V in his initials?
He may well do. Yes. Yeah. I don't know whether it's a well-known thing or whether it's Simon Lawler's asking, did Ian Wright? I mean, Ian Wright would have gone because he'd have gone from lower leagues, wouldn't he? Would he be non-league, Ian? Quite possibly.
Could have. One Tommy Bacon is saying Vardy. I've got to admit, that's who I was thinking. Yeah,
Vardy is a very good shout, and it is
that's an incredible achievement.
Tom Bacon knows his footy, doesn't he? Nice. Simon Lawler saying, "What about Vinnie Jones?" I mean, there's a great shout, Vinnie Jones with a V in it.
Nobody got a yellow card in 11 rounds.
Yeah, exactly, which is close enough. But it is Jamie Vardy. Yeah, which is just so. Isn't that how nuts is that? That's absolutely ridiculous. Record. Cannot fault that. So that one was fairly kind of straightforward to go. Let's try question number 2 of the night. So, who achieved over a century of Premier League goals without scoring a hat trick?
Oh, I like
I
that.
know this is a good question. I like this question. This is a good question. So one of the Premier League centurions from the goal point of view, but never scored a hat trick.
What do you think, Natalie? He's got to be a midfielder, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But it can't be Lampard or Gerrard. I mean, they've presumably scored hat tricks. Who else was a high-scoring midfielder? Oh, let's see what the chat box has to say.
I'm gonna think. I'm just feels like how would they not? I feel like I've heard this somewhere. I feel like it is a centre forward. I feel like it is a centre forward, but it's just like a really weird stat that they just never got a hat trick. It's just like a really weird. I feel like I don't think it is a midfielder. I feel like I've read this.
Tom Bacon's got an interesting. He's got an interesting horse in this race. He's saying Giggs, I think. Wow.
I may be making my stand here, by the way. I've raised it up, and I may well be making my stand if I get
a cheeky look at your cards.
Well, I'm assuming nobody on the table's going to know, are they? So let's. I'll show you what I'm playing.
Okay.
So
certain parts of the world, that's lucky.
I think probably if either of these players in the blinds here decide to repop it, I may well just play it with the eights, and we're at that point in the tournament. I've only got about 13 bigs, so a little bit more than that. I think we're gonna have to go with the eights. It's a chip. It's the chip leader on the table, I think, isn't it? So hey, let's see
even if we're racing, Leigh.
Yeah, let's see if we can double up through this player.
Come on, buddy.
Here we go. What are we up against? Oh, just the aces. Just the aces.
That's all right.
Yeah. Just the aces.
Took a while to call there. We better be playing on other tables.
Come on, eight. Come on, eight.
Oh, and this is this horrible thing where you can
do it.
I love this.
Yeah.
I love this.
Oh, not to be. Oh, well.
Unlucky, Leigh. Great run again, though, right? This
decent run in that one. So picking up
a patter.
Yeah, so regular prize $89. Only picked up the one bounty from late last night, actually. But that's $102. So it was $50 buy, and I only had one punt at it. So I've double my money basically.
Double my money. Leigh, on the question. So Triplin says only around 30 in the 100 club. So that's a fairly narrow field. Tony G he can't remember, right? He thinks he's heard, but he can't remember. Craig Trender is back in, right? Craig's a competition specialist. If Craig says it's Ryan Giggs, whether your computer says it or not, it's Ryan Giggs, right? Yeah. So good to see Craig. Ryan Giggs. Tony G is saying, is it Drogba?
I thought Ryan Giggs would have scored 100 goals, though.
Yeah, but has he got hat tricks, though? Oh,
he's got to have scored 100 goals, has he?
Oh, I think he might have. I mean, he's played a lot of games. Simon says, is it Les Ferdinand?
No, well, it's we ignored Tom Bacon because he's on a run here as well. But Craig's spot on as well. It's Ryan Giggs.
Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
It's interesting. He's never got a hat trick.
Yeah, over 100 goals, never got a hat trick. Yeah, absolutely.
I like the way your mind went with that, though. It makes sense that it would be a midfielder. I thought I'd heard that stat somewhere before. I thought it was a striker, but a midfielder makes sense because why else would you have not scored a hat trick? But
frankly, I've tried to block the lad. I wouldn't
have put Giggs in the 100 club.
No, absolutely not. Would you like the third and final one for the night?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, come on then. Here we go then. Here we go.
Is it a Burnley question? I probably don't know.
Who are the only team to be unbeaten in multiple games versus Brazil?
Well, I'm thinking it's got to be somebody close-ish to home. There's got to be sort of. It's got to have shock value, this. And if the answer is Ecuador, I mean, nobody's going to,
Shall I cut it down? It is a European country. So
does this question mean the Brazilian women's team? Is this a trick?
No. It's not. It's not. There's no tricks here at all. It's just
Oh, it'll be somebody who's only played them a couple of times.
You'd have assumed so. Multiple games. It's not Wales, is it?
It's definitely not Wales.
Oh,
Although
dear.
we beat Brazil. I was at the game, I think, when we beat Brazil 1-0. We had a good run where we beat Germany one, and then I think we beat Brazil or drew with Brazil, back in the early 90s.
Right. I'm pretty sure it's not Ireland. I think we've lost a couple of tightish games to Brazil. From memory.
Iceland?
Mr. Lawler is saying England, but that couldn't be. Didn't they lose in the World Cup back in 1970?
Yeah.
Isn't that right?
Stu Ward is saying, I know this. Stu Ward is saying, I know this. He knows this. Okay.
Sweden. I mean, Pete's just naming every country that he can think. He's alphabetically going through all of Europe's countries. He's sucking in some Eastern Bloc countries.
Know this. We definitely know. And this was, I think this has come from the last World Cup as well.
Stu Ward says he knows this, and he's just confirmed that.
Tony G says Scotland, but I remember them getting hammered in the 1982 World Cup. It was like 4-1.
Leigh, did this? Was it somebody who played them in their group in the World Cup back in Qatar? I feel like this is a new start.
No, they weren't. This country weren't in Qatar. So and because a certain player, there was a big deal that this certain player wasn't at the World Cup. So
Mr. Holland,
So
it was Norway.
Yes, it was Norway. Yeah,
well done, Stu.
But what I would say is, first of all, thanks to Asa, because he's given me a whole load of questions, so we can do this pretty much very quickly.
This is going to be a new APAT show.
That's amazing.
We'll have a lot of fun with this. There's quite a few Liverpool ones in there, quite a few Man City ones in there. So we'll have some good fun with this over the coming weeks for sure. So thanks for that, Asa. For those of you that got to sit in the casino for however many hours, they kept on coming over, going, Leigh, we're doing the football quiz, and we were live streaming the final table of the English amateur event. So I literally was, sorry guys, I not a lot I can do about that really.
Leigh, let's just touch on that. Right, April has been just a crazy month for APAT. So we've 4 events, I think, going. 4 main events going in April. We managed to nix our biggest individual field ever in the first of those in London at the start of April. For the first time, we've attended the Irish Open Festival. So we were at the RDS. We had a cracking event last weekend in Blackpool, won by Adam Dukes, and we'll come back to that. And of course, we're in Malta later this week, right? If I'm not mistaken, later this week. It's been a hell of a month. On top of that, this week we've obviously announced our partnership with GG. So they're the biggest online operator in the world of poker. It's been a hell of a month for APAT. Let's just cycle back to Blackpool for a minute. You were there. I did a bit of work from down here in terms of the streaming. How was it?
It was superb. Lovely to be back at Blackpool. Normally we're up in Blackpool sort of January, February time for the team event back in the day where nothing seems to be open. So I rocked up on the Saturday sort of lunchtime to beautiful sunshine. The streets were packed. Everybody was out enjoying Blackpool. Now I know it's just down the road from your good self, Natalie, isn't it? So it's Wednesday with the sun is out and everything's going on there. It's a fantastic place to be, and it was great to be back in the casino. The staff were absolutely superb, looked after us really, really well, and we got a cracking turnout of players, 195 players. Rocked up for this one and thoroughly enjoyed it. Just real positive vibes, positive feel from it. Side events were superb. Plenty of APATers playing that, and yet that particular man,
Mr. Hodge,
got his APAT gold, and he was up against GMAC. He was up against Gordon MacArthur. Heads up for that. So that was absolutely quality to watch that. But then thoroughly enjoyed what was an eventful final table,
stunning,
to say the least. Now I don't know whether you may not have caught any of that, Natalie, because you were probably busy booking Vegas trips and stuff. But
it's your fault.
It's all my fault. The final table was absolutely simple. We had a little problem. We thought at one point the winner wasn't actually going to make it to the end of the final table. We had a bit of a choking incident at the final table, so play got paused for a little bit whilst Adam managed to sort himself out. Well, certainly so he could breathe again and see through the final table. The rest of the players all just decided they were going to stop whilst he kind of sort of just a little bit of steak went down the wrong way, I think is the best way to describe it. So, but this, our winner, I mean, I don't even know where to start. Absolute boss of the final table.
Lovely guy.
Really, really, really nice guy. Possibly, though, this is possibly only maybe his second highest claim to fame in his life. I'm not quite sure whether winning the English Amateur Poker Championship for 2023 is going to be it, because this guy was in the semi-finals of Britain's Got Talent back in 2019. This is what he does for a day job.
I'm not going to leave this on for long because we'll get the stream taken down. Absolutely incredible techers. This is Adam and Rosie, semi-finals in Britain's Got Talent in 2019. I'm going to take it off there. While we're still up.
Absolutely bonkers. So professional ice skater, roller skater, has toured the world. Also been on a lot of the other countries' Got Talents. Has worked with Disney on Ice. Worked for Disney on Ice and the touring that around the world. And a really such a nice bloke. It was absolutely fantastic final table. Really was.
I'll tell you what, that wasn't even the most bonkers part of that story. The most bonkers part of that story is that we like to do an in-your-face style live streaming operation, right? We're not a couple of blokes stuck in a room like 2 floors away talking quietly. So you're stood by the side of the table. I'm talking in your ear about how our live stream is better entertainment than Britain's Got Talent on a Sunday night. And the guy must have heard you, because he looked up at you and he went, "Oh yeah, I was on Britain's Got Talent." Leigh goes, "Hey, what? Pardon? What's that?" And he went, yeah. Got to the semi-finals in 2019. Rosie and Adam.
Absolutely brilliant.
Superb.
Absolutely
Lovely
brilliant.
bloke.
Yeah.
Lovely bloke.
Yeah.
And clearly wildly talented on the ice. It's, take a look on YouTube. What they do is pretty scary.
But very talented at the poker table as well. Has been playing poker for a very, very long time. It was clearly obvious, obviously, that that's his local casino, and a number of the locals were going up when they were sort of down to three or four players, and giving him a little bit of stick or a little bit of a comment. So obviously, well known.
Steak.
It was certainly not a little bit of steak, that was for sure. I really felt for him, because he was really, really struggling at one point, but didn't want to, it actually happened, Natalie. He was mid-hand. He'd raised it up, and another guy had gone all in, and then this choking incident happened, and he went. I had to go off to the toilet, so they stopped it at that point.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah, they stopped. So they stopped. So the player that was all in stopped it at that point, and he got back to the table to have pretty much kind of just look at his cards again and go, "Yeah, I call."
Oh no!
Won the flip to bust the guy out, and then literally was like, "I need to go again because I can't. I'm still choking."
He didn't have anything to do,
I shouldn't laugh at it really, but it was literally a flip, and he had the flip held and bust a player, and on they went. It was quite, it's all played in really good. A number of great good APATers on that final table as well.
There was a lot.
Howard was on that final table, who at one
Liam
point
Crawford.
was absolutely bossing it. Liam Crawford, who's not played APAT for about 9 years, and we said we'll see you again in 2032 or whatever. So when he'll play again. So he hasn't played APAT or cash for a long time. And so he was back playing the final table. So that was absolutely superb. Ricky Buckland was on there as well. So I say Ricky and Gaz were chip leaders going onto that final table, and they were absolutely bossing it. And I don't really think it's probably, I think I can safely say, of all the APAT final tables I've seen in the 16, 17 years we've been doing this, I don't really think I saw a mistake. That went to showdown. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, we don't see all the cards, but I don't think I saw anybody really make a mistake on at all. Anybody. The guy that finished third was a short stack and just nursed it all the way. And at points, he was just shoving his chips in, trying to get some, and laughing that nobody wanted to play back against him. And he was one of the shorties, and ended up actually, finished. He got heads up in the end, didn't he? He ended up finishing himself. So just incredible. Yeah. So
Yeah,
really good final table.
Stunning weekend, Blackpool, of course. And of course, we're on to the Malta event later this week. And, there's a thread in the Facebook group that, suggested a lot of people going over to that. I think that'll be an outstanding few days. Again, with Yvonne and the team at the Malta Poker Festival. Tom will be over there. So, go and play if you're planning to be part of the festival.
Yeah, it's going to be another good one over in Malta, as it always is. The players, everyone I know that goes over there just says how much a good time they have over there. So really looking forward to seeing how that plays. Hopefully this time next week we'll hopefully get a little bit of Tom from Malta. If technology permitting, he can do that for us, and we'll keep a track on what's going. But obviously, that's just the start of another run of events for APAT into May, and we've got the UK Championship Amateur Poker in Nottingham, which is going to be 5 days up at dusk till dawn. Then we're up in Edinburgh in June, and then Coventry in August for the Open Championship, and then it's the Worlds. At the end of August. And that's before we even hit the autumn schedule. So it's just going to be, absolute. And obviously the great thing, and the great thing now is obviously now we've got the GG announcement out there, and that's done. And obviously we got the welcome party tournament on Thursday, but we'll start rolling out a weekly schedule. We'll start rolling out satellites and direct buy-ins to a lot of our live events, and more importantly, we'll get those online championship weekends back up and running, where you can win medals, APAT medals online. On a Saturday night, they're going to be Fridays and Saturday nights is going to be our championship days. So kind of one a month, pretty much. After our live events, we'll be putting on events on a Friday and a Saturday.
Every week?
No, it'll be pretty much once a month.
Oh, okay.
The main events, the medal events, of course, the leaderboards and poker squads. I mean, Leigh, when is poker squads coming back? I'm so excited for that one.
So hopefully the weekly schedule will start on the 1st of May, and then we'll be looking to then kick off poker squads again, possibly the following week or maybe the week after that. Fantastic. So give players a chance to get in and play. Obviously, there's different variants on GG. So some that you may have played in the past, which no longer we can do because GG don't do it, but then other new ones as well. So there's short decks, there's all in and fold comps. Plus say your usual kind of Omahas and 6 max, 8 max, and no limit hold'em and bounty to comps and all that kind of thing. So say slightly different schedule, but we're going to keep it to a Monday to Friday. It'll be 2 tournaments a night. They'll be priced at $10 each, with obviously most importantly all prizes paid out on the night for each comp. So I think everything gets paid out.
I think it's worth saying as well, Leigh, that we're dealing with the right people at GG, right? We've been working on this deal for quite a few months now. And we're dealing with senior people. They're the right people. They're poker people. They've been in the industry for a long time. They're super engaged with APAT, what we do, what we can bring to them. So I think we're starting in a really healthy place. So as with all new relationships, right, the players need to get through the challenges of depositing and providing their ID and verification details, which the UKGC require, get to know where the tournaments are and all of that good stuff. There's always pain points with that. But I think long-term, this relationship, given the scale of GG, is very promising for APAT. It obviously secures our ability to operate our live tour at this sort of level that we've become, expected to do so. And, given the number of events that we've got on this year and the plans that are already forming for next year, I think that's very promising.
Yeah, I would very much agree with that. And what I would say, what I found great since we announced on Thursday is obviously lots of chat in the Facebook group, asking questions. People have got problems. Somebody else is coming in going, well, I've had something similar. If you do this, you can get this resolved. You need to just send an email. Yeah, the verification process is not great, but it is going to be the same for most sites now in one form or another. I've been through the process myself. When I first opened my account, when I started playing again last year and having to verify, and even when I've just more recently deposited, they're asking questions and I'm glad that they do, because those checks and balances are there to protect players that need protecting. If you don't need protecting, if you don't need protecting as a player, do you know what? Great, good for you.
Good for you.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely fantastic.
Take one for the team.
But just work through it. So we've all, everyone's got deposit limits set. You can request to have them increased if you want to. They'll ask for some more information and they'll make a decision whether they do or they don't. I think probably what the standard deposit limits are for most players coming on, which I think it's been quoted for a while, it's this kind of $200 thing. Well, it's normally $200 a day, up to $400 a week, up to about $1,200 a month. Well, for most recreational players, that's plenty.
That
is absolutely plenty. I guess the frustration comes when players have gone, well, I've got a bit of bankroll somewhere else and I really want to get it on GG now so I can maybe play a bit more volume or play something a little bit bigger. Well, okay, but you've just got to gradually do that. You can get that done. It's not going to be an instant thing, but you can gradually get that onto your account and play more on GG. Not a problem. It's a getting to know your process, isn't it? And that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. I think it's worth mentioning because a number of our players might not be across this type of information, but the UKGC, over the last year and a half, have really started to come down hard on all gambling operators who do not take customer responsible gambling seriously. So, for example, Intane, which owns Party Poker, but also Coral and Ladbrokes and other brands, they were fined £17 million a few months ago for issues related to, I think it was 17 million. William Hill, I think, have also been fined, an astronomical sum, over 10 million for, again, not taking responsible gambling and customer play and safety seriously. So, these guys want to do it to the absolute letter of the law. And I think that's in players' interests. We should be okay with that. And, there will be some players who will be in the Facebook group talking about how difficult it is to do one or other things. In some instances, they may have self-excluded at some point in the past. They may have had issues, and these operators, they don't just forget those things, right? If it's a major gate, a major barrier to getting back in if they think you're at risk. So be patient, do what they ask you to do. We'll help where we can. And I know that, GG are looking into whether in fact they can provide some more direct customer service help to us within the Facebook group. So we'll see if anything develops along that front next week. No guarantees, but they've mentioned it. So I think they're keen to help us as best they can.
Yeah. But what I would say, Ace has posted up in the chat there saying, just want to note the customer service was awesome. Used it tonight, replied within 10 minutes, issue resolved in 30 minutes. Very helpful. And as Simon says, his limit's $500 a month. And to be honest, if he deposited that and lost it, he'd stop playing until the next month. Unlikely to ever deposit $500. So say for a vast majority of players, then it's not going to be an issue. Yeah. But we do want to actually try and sort out anybody's problems where we can in getting verified and getting to the position you're at. But as Des quite rightly says, if you have in the past, for whatever reason, opted out, done whatever, it's going to be hard. It's going to be tougher to actually kind of get through these because they will consider you to be, more of a risk that they want to protect and make sure that everything's okay. So they're going to ask more questions. There's going to be more things you need to go through. I had their kind of know your customer team come back to me about a month or so ago when I deposited $200, asking me if I could answer some questions. Just about it wasn't anything specific about my personal finances or anything like that.
Football related questions?
It was football trivia. I had to get four right, otherwise they wouldn't let me.
Was it question number 14, 15 and 16 on his?
Yeah. But it was just basically just just asking a question to understand what your position is and what you're doing and how you feel on things. I don't have an issue with that. They're doing their job, and basically, it's all for the right reasons.
Good thing. It really is a good thing. There needs to be a shift in mindset, because these aren't obstructive. They're not, they're not doing this for any other reason other than protect people who need protecting, and people just need to work together as a community to, take one for the team to make sure that the people who are vulnerable and need protecting get protected.
So
stop.
Listen, guys, outside of the poker discussion, there's a few things we have to touch on, seeing as we're getting into an advanced hour in the evening. I want to,
and I am worried we've talked a lot of poker. I mean, for anyone that's tuning into the show, we don't.
I'm not sure what I signed up to tonight. You brought me on, and I'm like, hang on a minute.
Right, this guy clearly had too much tango at the World Snooker Championship. What do we think? So it just oil. Protester gets up onto a table, stops the event. Obviously, that table then had to be put out of commission for 24 hours or whatever. What do you think, Natalie? A good thing, a bad thing, better way to do it? No right or wrong, right? It's an opinion.
I think, listen, I think there is a way to go about protesting. I think one of the problems that we are seeing at the moment with Extinction Rebellion and things like that is that they feel that they've been pushed into a position where they have to take very extreme forms and very public forms of demonstration in order to get their voice heard. I question whether they've gone from 0 to 100%, because what normally I'd have more understanding of that position if somebody literally couldn't get their voice heard, if they were being suppressed in any way, or they were being barred from being able to, protest peacefully or to get things there. For me, these particular acts have gone from like I say, 0 to 100% very, very quickly. So I would like to sit down and sort of question these people and ask whether or not there are more effective ways of getting their message heard. And it's a very important message, and it's one that does need to be considered without committing acts of damage or committing acts of nuisance factor is not really a problem, because that's what gets people heard. I think I have a problem with the destruction that's being caused and the damage. I think that's a bigger problem for me. I'll be honest, I've not looked into this in enough detail to give a particularly high level view of this, but my looking at this in the early stages that I am doing now, I look at these particular protests and go, did we need to get to this level this quickly? Could we have found a better way?
I suppose,
way of getting the voice?
I suppose some people might say, well, our winters are warmer, our summers are weirdly cold and flooded, and shit is happening around us. And actually, there's a timeline as to, And I think a lot of people are taking that a hell of a lot more seriously than they did 5-10 years ago, certainly. But maybe these people believe that actually the pace of change is still nowhere near fast enough.
I don't necessarily disagree. And I think the message is a sound one. I support the cause 100%. I guess the only thing that I'm questioning at the moment is the nature and the type of demonstration that's being put forward by the frontline activists to get that message across. Is it having a detrimental impact on a very important message that needs to be taken seriously by everybody? Because all that I'm seeing right now is that the cause has become somewhat of a nuisance. They've become a laughing stock in some circles. And certainly the boomer generation and above, who are the exact generation who need to be educated around the impact of this, are just turning their backs on them, and it's having the opposite impact. So that's what I'm getting at with this. There has to be a better way to get through to that generation.
Well, I tell you, it's creative. Some interesting comments in the chat box. So Carl says, I think it's Barry Hearn, it could be Eddie as well, is taking this guy to court apparently to gain compensation for every spectator in the Crucible. So obviously there would have been 400 or 500 people in watching that particular game, two tables in operation. They didn't get to see a game. I think they had an opportunity to go back and watch the game as it was rescheduled, but I did read that one of the Hearns was taking this guy to court. Billy Johnston's out there. It's good to see Billy, right? We don't see Billy often enough. So good to see you, Billy. So my case was the opposite of worried about the player, because I'd recently sold my house, my bank statement. So we're talking here about, we're obviously going back to responsible gambling. It was obviously very healthy. And then they got very nosy on proving I'd sold the house. And none of their business, to be honest. Funds are in the bank, all other details provided, but alas, they wanted too much. So I get this, right? I get this. I mean, I can't, it's not up to us as to whether it's right or wrong. But I guess what Billy is saying, sort of, I'm showing a bank statement that says I've got more than enough liquidity to be able to play some poker, and somebody's asking him, yeah, but where did it come from? I guess it's something like that. And I sort of I understand it, but
legal requirement. We have to do it in our job all the time. We have to verify where the funds are coming from. It's not enough to be able to show that you have that money. You have to be able to show where you've got it from. So because that's what they're trying to the level of protection is twofold. There is a source of funds, and the UK gambling circuit is obviously an easy target for money laundering and other offences. So they have to make sure that they are not facilitating the cleaning of money or other offences.
I think
that's where the source of funds question comes from.
I think Gerard Harrahy, who do you remember him as a child? He was about 13 when he used to play the WCOAP at DTD back in 2010, 11.
You can't say he was. You can't say. Seriously, we're talking about gambling legislation, what you can and can't do, and you're now saying a 13-year-old played.
But he's 23 now. Obviously, he's legal now. Okay. He's legal now. He was only about 13. Billy Johnson. They obviously don't want to be connected with all of the money you got from the drug dealing. That'll be it. Billy the Bag is under the cosh somewhat. Good to see Gerard back as well. These guys are all lining up for the WCOAP League. That's what's going on there. They're sort of sniffing about, just wanting to.
Comments like that in the chat box are really going to warm GG to us if they're watching our amazing program.
To be honest, GG folks, we laugh a lot on this. We're
joking. This is a joke.
They really want to go back. They really want to go back and check some of our stuff during lockdown, honestly, because that stuff went very dark at some nights.
They do really indeed. I should really show them this. Let's not do that.
If we're still on air by the time this program finishes, it'll be amazing.
Let's take the opportunity because you weren't with us last week, Natalie. How good is it that Burnley won the championship? They're going up. As
actually, we haven't won the championship yet, by the way.
No, it's imploded. They're not. They've
not won it yet, guys. Come on.
They're fine. They're going to be absolutely fine.
We are going to win it. We're just
going to be absolutely fine.
They're taking pounds for points, basically. QPR gave them a little brown envelope before the game, and so that was 3 points. They're Burnley are quite happy to just hand points over left, right, and centre. I mean, I've seen the headlines. Des posted them up in our group earlier on today.
I needed to poke. I needed to just poke for a reaction. And to be honest, I was told and told properly. So okay, the championship isn't secured yet, and what happened?
Well,
you've secured your promotion.
You potentially only need one more win, don't you? Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, we've got 3 more games.
You're good. How many games left, Natalie?
There's 3 games left with 10 points clear of Sheffield United. It's like at some point Sheffield United is going to run out of games, so it's it's going to be fine.
You're good. So
one win.
Fantastic. You're going to keep hold of Company. He's not going to move over the summer
for now. Oh, it won't. Yeah, it won't move over the summer.
Okay.
He certainly won't go to any of the clubs that have been linked with him this time. I think the pinch point with Company will come next December, depending on how we do in the first half of the season. Yeah. When teams at the bottom start sacking, that's when the pinch point will come.
Yeah. Will there be money to improve the squad?
Yes, we're going to be spending big. We're going to be doing our business early as well. So in the first couple of weeks, there's going to be.
You just thought there for a minute.
Interesting one though. So
I saw that.
So when you say, well, it'll come next season when some at the bottom sack their managers and their jobs coming up, but obviously you're going to be in the same division that those teams that are sacking managers are going to be. I mean, if you say you start the season next year and you're sitting mid-table, 10, 15 games in. Who's he going to? Where would he jump ship because they've got rid of the manager? I mean, the reality of it is I would think if he was going to go, it would be this summer. Whether it's somebody like a Spurs, Spurs come in, or Chelsea come in.
He's a championship manager. He's never managed in the Premier League.
But what I'm saying is that to me feels like a more likely scenario than than anything else. I mean, I guess what happens if you're bottom of the Premier League November, December, and adrift already next season? Do you sack him?
No.
To try and stay up?
I don't think they will be, Leigh.
No, we didn't.
No. But
we didn't twice when we had Dash, and that didn't happen.
No, but my point is this: is I don't see a scenario if he's there for the start of next season. I don't see a scenario where he will jump somewhere else next season.
Yeah, no, it depends. It very much depends on the club. I think if, like you say, one of the biggest pulls for Vincent Kompany was to come back to the Northwest, which is where he's lived most of his his entire adult career. His children are at school here. Coming back to Burnley, whilst on paper it would look like an odd move, it was perfect for him from his family life. So I'd be surprised if he moves. I don't think he'd take a London job, for example, which is why I think Spurs and Chelsea are out. I think what he will. Vincent Kompany is a very clever guy, but he's also very protective over his own progression and his own route to the top. He won't. I don't think he will tarnish his reputation that he's starting to build as a manager, and his chances of being successful in the Premier League by going too soon, too big. So he's not going to go to City now, for example. I don't think he'd go to Chelsea and Spurs for that reason, because they are high pressure jobs that if he doesn't turn things around very, very quickly, he gets sacked. He wants to be at a club where he's got a 5-year plan, and he talks a lot about this group of players and this managerial team being together for the next 4 years and see where we are. I think he thinks in those cycles, and I just think he wants to progress at the level that he's comfortable at, and I think he sees an opportunity with Burnley. The board are very ambitious, and there's money there, and we want to be in a position where we aren't in the Premier League we're not. How can I put this? We were in the Premier League for 6 years. No, I don't mean yo-yo. I mean, we were in the Premier League for 6 successive years, but it never felt like we belonged there.
Yeah.
The message was always like, you are overstaying.
So tier 1 football.
Correct. Yeah. What we want to do now as a club is to be there and have everybody believe that we have a right to be there, and we're there on merit, and that we are there and we can build and be an established Premier League club, rather than just overachieving every season, that we are achieving exactly what we should be doing. And Vincent Kompany has bought into that, and he wants to develop that. I don't see him going. I don't even like some of the teams that I even used to think were a stepping stone, like Everton, Leicester. Why would he go to them with the current state that they're in? So I think he would stay at somewhere like Burnley until he's got a few years' experience in the Premier League, and then go to one of the big 6. I generally think that's how he'll do it.
Do we think are we talking about Vincent Kompany the same way that we were talking about Gerrard? Basically taking the Liverpool job when Klopp. So are we talking the same thing as Pep going and him stepping
Vincent
into
Kompany
that?
Will manage Manchester City without doubt. That's where his pathway is.
I think he'll have to keep the trajectory up, though, because it's amazing how quickly Liverpool fans said it's not going to be Steven Gerrard after he screwed up sort of at Villa.
And that's why I just think there's no way that Vincent Kompany takes Chelsea or Spurs this summer.
Yeah.
Because
it's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point.
He's not gonna damage his stock. He's not gonna damage his brand. It's so soon when he's not even managed yet in the Premier League.
Well and all, as Burnley have done this season, the romance, the story is Wrexham, right? So
I'm so invested in this.
Yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal. Big old win at the weekend, coming from a goal down, and Rob McElhenney. And this is where the romance comes in, right? In the interview afterwards, he tells the reporter on BT Sport, Paul Mullen is one of the best strikers in the world. And to be honest, after the 2 blooming goals he scored, who would argue? I mean,
he's playing in the wrong division.
But that's the romance of it, right? And these guys literally wept as 10, 12,000 people ran onto the pitch, at the ref's final whistle on Saturday. Incredible scenes there. I mean, what do you make of it? Are these good owners? Yes. Might they dip out at the sign of hard times? What do you think?
possibly, but they won't be the first owner to do that, and they won't be the last either. I don't think they should be judged any differently because of the background and how they've made their money. I think what they have shown is that if you have a platform and you have a profile, you can use those skills to transfer that across to an asset that you want to manage and do a lot of good. I was massively intrigued by this story. I'm a Ryan Reynolds fan for maybe non-acting reasons, but I do like him, and I was very intrigued by this. Thought this is a bit. It felt like a little bit of a joke. Watch the documentary. Literally,
fantastic,
like unbelievable. But for me now, it's Rob McElhenney rather than Ryan Reynolds. He's the one who's got me into this. The partner.
Have you seen the video? Have you seen the video they did to help people
his
to
birthday.
pronounce Rob's name?
Oh yes, for his
Absolutely
birthday.
Stunning.
That was there.
Absolutely
that was
stunning. Leigh, I don't know if you know this, but they're playing United on their US tour.
In the summer, United and Chelsea, I think.
Right.
Yeah. Have you not seen the video they've done?
Well, I'm going to play it, right? I've got it. Do you think will it get us taken down? I don't think it'll get us taken down. We'll play it. But, United are obviously looking at Wrexham and thinking of the power of Ryan Reynolds, maybe, but also his partners pulling power in the States. So, and there's no question that the way these guys create content is bringing incremental fans in. I mean, the Welcome to Wrexham documentary has been sensational. Let me play this. So for anybody who isn't aware of this, United playing Wrexham in summer, friendly in the States, and they've come up with a promotional video, which is really quite funny. Let me play it. It's all very self-explanatory.
I can't believe we're about to talk with the Sir Alex Ferguson, arguably the greatest football manager ever. He's won 13 Premier League titles.
I know. I'm super nervous. I hear he's a master intimidator.
Ryan, he's way past that part of his career. Besides, we're playing a friendly match, so I'm sure it's going to be...
Go! Oh. Hello! I don't know why I'm yelling. Hello, Sir Alex. It's an honor to be speaking with you today, sir.
Yeah, Sir Alex, we are truly grateful that you agreed to help announce the match between Wrexham and Manchester United.
Yeah. What did I tell you? Mind games.
Sir Alex, we can't wait to see all the Red Dragon and the Red Devil players on the pitch together.
Yeah, we think that fans of both clubs, they're really going to love it. No, I'm living in our heads rent free.
Understand what's happening.
I got this.
What should we do?
I got this. Sir Alex, we would love to talk more about the big match happening at Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego on July 25th. But Rob here had a hair appointment in Beverly Hills. He has to get to it right now, so the schedule is inflexible for that. So thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Goodbye.
Wait, what was that? What?
I panicked.
That was terrifying.
Yeah, I told you, legendary intimidator. Lives right up here.
How did the call go with Ryan and Rob, Sir Alex?
They're on mute. Never heard a thing.
It's fantastic, right? They're brilliantly funny. Everything they produce,
they are very funny,
is high quality and very funny. These are. I think we should welcome these types of people into football.
I think so too, and I think it shows. I think football had got a little bit too serious at some point, and I think the Premier League particularly was struggling as a brand in terms of where it went next. Because every season takes the same style, the same teams win it. Every single season, it's like, who's going to win it this year? City or City or Liverpool? Don't care. Who's going to get relegated? The same three that went up. Do you know what I mean? It's like it got very repetitive, and I think clubs admins have now cottoned onto this, and there's a much more light-hearted approach on social media, and there's more content around esports, and just everybody's just relaxed a little bit. And this, for me, epitomizes that. I mean, sure, they've got a little bit more freedom down, in the National League, but I think I welcome this. Football is supposed to be fun, and it can have such a horribly toxic culture at times that why not just bring a little bit of silliness into it? But also knowing that these guys are absolutely ruthless. There's a silliness that fronts a clever mind.
Absolutely, that there's some very sharp business men sat there. So it'll be really cool and interesting to see how Wrexham get on next season. And without doubt, the likes of Formula One and tennis and golf, along with the likes of Wrexham, sort of, and Arsenal recently, just opening their doors to ordinary people to see what goes on behind the scenes. Incredibly positive for all of those sports.
We've got one as well.
The English, the English football pyramid it's tough though. I mean, don't think for 1 second. You only have to look at Salford, and obviously they kind of went through a similar thing, I suppose, with the fly on the wall documentary type, and invested a lot of money. And yes, they got promoted back up into the Football League, but actually the last 2 or 3 seasons, it's tougher than I think they maybe thought it was going to be. I think they thought they would just carry on. I think didn't they get something silly like four promotions on the bounce, or 4 in 5 seasons or something like that to get into the Football League. But they spent big to do it. And Wrexham have actually spent considerably. I think didn't they post about 3 million losses or something like that? So it is tough to do that. But say it's a great journey to watch, and obviously it's putting out there in a different way and kind of different content, isn't it? So from that point of view, it's going to be good. I think we're going to lose that table in a minute, Des. I don't know whether you want to pop up the welcome past tournament info so up on the screen. So because we're going to lose that one in a second.
There we go.
As we're not following anyone necessarily at the moment.
So what's added in special prizes? Tell me about these.
So basically, it's a $5 comp. So it's 8 o'clock this Thursday. It's in the lobby now. So if you go into the lobby and
I shall.
And in the search section, if you just type APAT in there, then it pretty much limits it down to a handful of tournaments, and you'll see it very, very easily. You'll see it's $5 APAT welcome party. So it's got $1,000 worth of T dollars added to the prize pool.
T dollars.
So, which is like your tournament dollars. Then the top 50 players all will receive a $15 Road to Vegas ticket.
Ooh,
nice. And the top 100 players will all receive a GGPoker t-shirt.
Yay.
Now this is limited. This particular welcome tournament is limited to UK and Ireland players only for this particular one. Everything else will be opened up to all, but for this particular promotion, so if you've signed up, you'll still get all of the added value when you sign up, depending on which country you're in. So you'll get all of that and can play through all of those. But this particular one is
tournaments tab and then search part.
Yeah, and this is just the start. There's going to be lots of good stuff coming. Right, lots of added value coming. Just continue to watch this space, continue to play poker squads and leaderboard ladders and so on and so forth. Now, guys, just wanted to finish. Great, on the football front, great week for Liverpool and United getting through in the cup semi-final today. Sissy looked,
well, you say getting through. I mean,
they're through.
To be fair, you did win 2 cups. Exactly that way.
History does not remember penalties shootouts. I have to say. You wonder though, how do you feel about playing Sissy in that final, Leigh?
I think Brighton would have given them more of a run in the cup final. To be perfectly honest, we may step up. My fear after Thursday night was if we turned up today like we did on Thursday night, we would have absolutely got turned over by Brighton. To be fair, we didn't really look like necessarily scoring anything. I think for United's season, we need the season to come to an end, because I think we have been playing. We've been playing weekend midweeks now since the World Cup, and it's taken its toll on the squad, which is not as strong in depth as others in the league. And we've picked up injuries, we've picked up suspensions, and it's taken its toll on the players, I think, really. As I said, when we came back from the World Cup, if you gave me a top 4 finish and a cup, I'd have absolutely been your hand off for it already. So we've already got 1 cup done. We're in the final of another one. Unfortunate to go out of the Europa League, but the Europa League was a weird one. I mean, if you'd have said to me we were 2-0 up in that first leg at halftime, if you'd have said you're gonna lose this tie 5-2 and you're gonna score 2 own goals, you're going to gift them 2 tap-ins, and the final one is going to come off one of their players' shoulder into the back of the net, I'd have said you're making it up. That's that's just isn't possible. But that's how that played out. We've got some tough games. If we're not careful, our next 3 league games, Brighton
get dragged into the
Villa,
top 4
Villa
battle, right?
and Tottenham. Yeah, if we're not careful, and yourselves now, you guys are only 3 points off whatever happened to Tottenham this afternoon. Did you see that, Natalie?
Yeah,
did you see the game or hear about the game this afternoon?
That's the story.
I didn't watch all of it. I'm very anti Newcastle but
reasons. 5-0 up in 22 minutes or whatever it was.
They are gate crashing the top 6.
Just insane, and they've not even spent big yet.
No.
They're going about things the right way with a manager that I've always had, a lot of time for. I know you might have slightly different views, Natalie, due to his short tenure at Burnley, but clearly he's a good coach, and clearly he can get the best out of a squad of players when given the opportunity. And you just do have to think it could be quite frightening what they could do if they do go and spend a little bit. What they have spent money on so far is quality that's looking good.
Breaks my heart that they've got Nick Pope.
Gutierrez in the middle in the central midfield and Isaac up front are their 2 biggest spends, I think, and both are absolutely looking like money well spent, good quality.
Yeah,
so
great.
Asa is still in. So I mean, Asa normally is up for an early. Asa is not even the fastest to be 5-0 up in the Premier League.
I saw that.
Yeah, who's done 5-0 faster than 20 odd minutes then?
Well, it's got to be City,
is he not? It's City against Burnley, and
is it really? Oh wow, okay. There's no need for that, honestly.
That's what those laughing faces at the end of that quote were.
But to be honest, the problem you've got is for United in the cup final is I think, and might have said this last week, City know how to see out a season, certainly in the league. They've scored some ridiculous number of points from the last 5 seasons, the last 10 games. I think it's like 140 points out of a possible 150 or something absolutely ridiculous like that. They can also quite happily smash somebody in a cup final because they feel the need to do it, and they're looking like, if they can get through Real Madrid in the Champions League semi-final, they're on for a treble. 3 titles in a row and possibly a treble, which obviously United are the only side that have done that in the Premier League era. It's looking mighty impressive. But to be fair, that City side and that City squad are super impressive. They were great last year, and you then add Haaland to that batch of players, and they're phenomenal. We're watching. We've said this before. Liverpool have been off the boil this year. But what we've watched in the last 3, 4, 5 seasons in the Premier League, it's been a level of football above and beyond everything that United won back in the 90s and early noughties. The level that it's gone to now, and I mean, for a Burnley coming up, Natalie, you must be looking at this now and going, "Wow." You look at how strong the top, echelons of the Premier League are. You look what Brighton are doing, what Villa are now doing with the run they're on. Fulham had a great start to the season. They've dipped a little bit, but are coming back again. Yeah, Brentford, the run. I'm thinking, wow. You always thought there was never an easy game in the Premier League, but I think even more so now we're seeing such a quality group of teams.
We are, but
it's tough to pick up points.
There's some rubbish at the bottom as well, though. So I think what's happened now in the Premier League is that you've got you've got 2 half leagues now. You used to have a top, it used to be in thirds. It used to be a sort of like 5 or 6 sides battling out for relegation. The middle comfortable ones, your traditional, West Ham's, Leicester's, those kind of sides, and then the big 6 with Everton as 7th. What you've got now is an even split. So you've got the dominant rich clubs who just you can't compete with, and then you've got maybe 3, 4 sides who are at the top of their what's the word I'm looking for? There's like my brain's not working tonight. There's like a cycle where Leeds, so they're in a position at the moment, like your Brentfords and your Brightons, where they've got the perfect manager at the perfect time with the perfect squad, all at their peak, and they're going to be doing really well. That will fall off, and they will then find themselves at the bottom. That's what happened towards we finished in Europe, then we came down. And then you've got the bottom half of the table. So from the top, the bottom 9, 10 sides are all the same, and literally any of them can go down. Look at the fight in the relegation zone this season. So yeah, that's what's happened to the Premier League now. And unfortunately, what we're seeing is that money and power are cementing the top 7 places, and then three, possibly 4 teams each season will get to be the best of the rest, and that's the most you can hope for.
In some respects, it's sort of really quite sad. Even I will say this, seeing what's happened to Arsenal over the last three or 4 weeks. Dropping points left, right, and centre to good clubs and not so good clubs, to the point that they now look quite a long shot to win the title. A real shame.
It would be really good for the Premier League if Arsenal
season.
won it. It really would. It would be. It would be really good. It's not a good thing to have a straight shootout between 2 clubs every single year, and you've got to have that hope as a fan that
absolutely
everything will fall into place and an Arsenal will win it.
They've
that
also
was a phenomenal
played
game, by the way, with Southampton.
That was stunning, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They've also played great football, and they haven't spent hundreds of millions of pounds. And in fact, their owner, Kroenke, is not from that place that wants to spend hundreds of millions of pounds. So Arteta's done an incredible job there. And it's just, crikey, we're into final momentum now, the final 7, 8, 9 games. Yeah. And they're starting to creak.
Experience has got them. And I mean, I think some of the creaking's not really to do with the power and the money. I think that's professional sport. I think no matter what sport you're in, when you're in a long league like this, where it's about a period of time and you've got to be consistent throughout it, you often find in any sport that the earlier on in your career and that lack of big match experience can haunt you. That's what happened to the England men's team in the Euros. They were the better side going into it. They were the better side for most of the game. And unfortunately, they met a hugely experienced European manager and players who'd been there and knew exactly how to win one game to lift the trophy. So I think that's what's happening to Arsenal more than anything else. I think all of them are in unfamiliar territory. So
Ace is agreeing with you here. He said somebody made a cracking point about Arsenal. They haven't bottled anything. They've just got too emotional, lost that bit of control they've shown most of the season, and it sort of feels a bit like that. But for the last 5 or 10 minutes against Southampton on Friday evening, when they played without fear, right? It was just, we've got to go for this. Odegaard looked amazing. They looked fantastic.
It was really great.
It was great football.
It really was. And it was, I saw an absolutely brilliant tweet where somebody said that Arsenal bottled it, but then came back, showed incredible resilience to go on and get a point. Southampton showed incredible resilience to go ahead, then bottled it to lose a point, to concede the equaliser. An incredible game of football, and a point's no good for anybody. And it was one of those acts. And I am quite critical of the Premier League and the brand and the product that it now serves to its consumers after failing, in my opinion, to progress and develop over time. It's got very stale and static as a Premier League. But every season, at least once a season, it throws up an incredible night. And that was the one for this season. I thought it was.
I tell you, there's been a few. Yeah. There's been a few. It feels like, even though it's been a really poor season for Liverpool, it feels like it's been a good Premier League. But you have to ask questions. If City win it again this year, they've won 5 out of the last 6? Would that be right? I mean, that's not that shouldn't be the case.
Not good for the sport. No.
So everybody talks about how competitive the league is, but actually,
no.
But Des, I think the way the media portray that, they'll say what they say is that between, they say Liverpool and Manchester City have won the last 6 titles, I think is the way they'll word it. That's pretty much the way they like to go with it. They don't keep score of that. They'll just say that both those teams have dominated the last half a decade.
I think in fairness to that type of quote, for 2 or 3 of those seasons, there's only been a point in it, and both teams have done incredible run-ins. But the reality is, City have continually finished a point ahead, so that makes them numero uno, and that suggests that the league isn't as competitive as we'd like to think it is. But Natalie, just one point. Liverpool have really struggled against those teams that you've said are bottom of the league and cast adrift. I mean, they're actually not bad. A lot of these teams can actually play pretty decent football now.
What, the smaller sides are the ones that are struggling for relegation?
Well, I think a bit of both, really. I mean, if you think about the likes of Brentford, you'd maybe classify them as a smaller side.
Yes.
You think of the likes of Southampton, Forest, Bournemouth. I mean, Liverpool have sort of pretty much lost to all of these clubs.
Yeah, I get that. I don't think. I think that's been a little bit generous from some of the things I've seen this season. I think there's been some quite shocking performances as well at the bottom for some sides that we've done it. I think probably the best example today, and Leigh, apologies if this stings a little bit, but I didn't see any difference in tonight's FA Cup game between that Brighton side and that United side. I didn't think
They're a bit better, Brighton.
Yeah,
arguably.
I think Brighton now are as good as United are at this moment in time, and that, as much as it stings from a United fans' perspective, because you want to be back up there, you want to be City and you want to be one of the champions, and you want to be better than everybody else. You want to be out there as a super team, but that's good for the game, and it's good for the Premier League brand, because it's relentlessly dull and monotonous and repetitive is the Premier League. And if it wants to be a product that now moves into being relevant again and to being up to date with what the consumer, i.e. us as fans, want it to be, it's got to look at this, and it's got to find a better way to be more competitive and to be more realistically attainable for everybody who goes into it. Because right now, what's the point? We've had an incredible season this year, and we're going back into the Premier League, and we're going to spend the entire season just trying to be the fourth worst side in the league.
Yeah,
and it's just how
soul destroying.
Yeah, how can you want the Championship teams to fight with everything that they can and have this golden prize of Premier League football when the Championship fan doesn't want to get promoted? How have you got yourself in that position?
But everything goes through cycles, and you have a situation whereby, I mean, you can look at American sports, can't you, where you don't have relegation and promotion, and you have the draft situation, and then look what New England did in NFL. Dominated for a period of time. Look what Golden State did in basketball. And we've talked about this, Natalie, and said those things should never have been able to happen with that structure of team sports.
But it did.
Yet it did.
Here we are.
Did it make it any less entertaining to watch? No, of course it didn't. But ultimately, that is always going to be the case. You can look at any of the leagues in Europe. It doesn't even need to be the big five leagues. Look at any of the leagues in Europe, and you'll get the odd season where you'll get a Leicester. I mean, the fact that actually you can still get a Leicester happen in the Premier League in the recent times.
Can you? Or is Arsenal not the new Leicester?
Well, but Leicester wasn't that long ago. We're not talking about Leicester was 50 years ago and no one's done it ever since. The fact is, Leicester did happen, in more recent times. But you look at what likes of Napoli are doing at the moment in the Italian league. Have come out of absolutely nowhere and done it. I would suggest leagues more like the German league, where Bayern have just been pretty much dominant for a long time. The Spanish league, where it is literally Real Madrid or Barcelona, that is it. The Scottish league, where it is Celtic or Rangers, that is it. Nobody else. I do think we've got a competitive league, and what we've got to ask ourselves is, do we think Manchester City are going to continue dominating for the next decade? I don't think they probably will. They'll be up there, and they'll be in the mix, but I don't think they will. If you look at United's success in the 90s and early noughties, you had Arsenal in for a couple of years and Chelsea in for a couple of years and win. United would win one or two, then Chelsea would win it for one, and that was it. United were always in the top three, competing, but they weren't winning it every single season.
Correct.
Year on. I think Liverpool stepped up. Because of where Manchester City were, that's why Liverpool stepped up to where they've stepped up to now. And you'll see other teams will do it. Arsenal are doing it this year. I've no doubt somebody else will do it next year and will compete with Manchester City. And sometimes they'll just pip ahead of them, like Liverpool did in the COVID lockdown season. Sometimes you won't. You'll miss it by a point. You as you say, Des, you were only a couple of points away each season. It could have been in the last six. It could have been 3-3. 3 for Liverpool, 3 for Manchester City.
Certainly.
Easily.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is Arsenal I think Arsenal probably deserve to win it this season. I do think that they've done.
I'd love them to.
However, the last 3 or 4 games, they've, when the pressure's on, then they're really struggling with it. Next season, well, we don't know where it's going to go. It'll be competitive. I don't think a huge amount needs changing with the structure. I think what's great to see is there are more teams getting more competitive. So your likes of your Brightons, your Villas, your Brentfords of this world, your Fulhams of this world can go on runs and do more. I'd like to see that middle section of the Premier League have something more to play for. Somebody criticised a while ago, I think it was on TalkSport, about Crystal Palace being they're just there filling up a place. They just stay in the league and they don't really do anything, and they don't, and how depressing that is. Or maybe we've got too many teams in that top division, and maybe the change is actually saying, well, what we need to do is bring that down to 16 teams, bring another 12 into a Premier League 2, and do something like that. I've no idea.
Stuff like that.
Well, it's not Super League style stuff, because you still have the promotion and relegation.
Yeah,
but just actually,
I'm keen
you
to
try and make it more competitive. So actually, there's more to play for, right to the end for most teams, and that may be what you need to do to find a way of making it that it isn't that by the time you get to April. I mean, there are teams now in the Premier League that are playing literally for prize money up the league. A couple more million. Yeah. Oh well, yeah. Of course it is. Yeah, but they're not going to, as you say. What do you want as a Burnley fan? What's your ambition? What do you actually want to strive for? What do you hope your club can achieve?
I'd love to win the Premier League, but it's never going to happen. We can never ever hope to achieve the Premier League title. That's the depressing thing about a competition. We're in a competition that we can never win.
But Leicester did.
But Leicester did in recent times. Yeah, Leicester did in recent times.
Yeah,
I bet there's not an Arsenal fan that at the start of this season would have said they felt they had any hope of winning.
That's what I mean. I feel like Arsenal are this season's Leicester. I don't think they should have had any chance of getting anywhere near it. We've got to a situation where the top teams are so powerful now, and we've got so much money that there's no competition there. There's no realistic. It takes for another Leicester to happen. The fact that Leicester was an anomaly, and it could be another 10 years before it happens again. That will never happen. You won't have every single season a chance of a Leicester happening. It will happen once in a blue moon, and it only happened because 4 sides had shocking seasons where they bought badly and they had managers that weren't performing very well, and they lost too many games, and they were at the absolute peak with the best manager, the best squad, playing their best football, and all the stars aligned. So that to me wasn't the Premier League being competitive and realistic in terms of an opportunity. It was an anomaly. So that's where I'm getting at, is I would like to see more of a opportunity in the Premier League. Yeah. And I love the idea of having more to play for, the middle teams, but ultimately just the golden prize. You as professional sportsmen, you're going into a league that you cannot have any hope to win. And that to me can't be right.
It's not great. I think Stu's making that point.
Liar, Stu Ward.
Yeah. Part of me isn't bothered if Borough win. Don't win the playoffs, he doesn't want a season of slog in the Premier League.
I don't, but equally, you also have to be competitive enough to want to see your team play at the highest level. You also want the opportunity and to take advantage of the global brand. You want the extra income. I've loved the Championship this year because it's been the first time we've been in it for 6 years. We've walked it and it's been absolutely brilliant. I'm not naive enough to not realise that if you ask a Borough fan, a West Brom fan, the fans of the sides that have been slogging, Preston, Blackburn, who've been slogging around in the Championship for ages, the money's dried up, and they're having to go into a lottery every year to just try and get, if it's not their season. Because what's happened is that now the relegated sides are very strong performers in the Championship. They've got parachute payments, they've got money to be able, they often keep hold of their good players as well. So once you've been in the Championship for a while, you're just trying to get to that lottery of the playoffs to have one more shot again, and then try and be a yo-yo club for 5 years and get back up again, because the pyramid's not fair and balanced in terms of the spread of money. Stuart, he doesn't really mean that. I know he's being a bit tongue-in-cheek, but I do get where he's coming from. I'm not going to enjoy the football next year because we're going to lose every week and it's going to be really difficult. And you're going into a league where you'll probably only win 10 games the entire season, and if you do, you'll survive. And if you put your man on, even get them. So, but I wouldn't swap it. We still want to be there.
Yeah.
So it's a horrible. I would love to, you know, in my spare time, of which I've got loads of it, I'd love to do some kind of dissertation study on the psychology of the Premier League as a fan, and how you approach it as a professional sports person, how you approach it as a supporter, and what the answer is. I think that would be an incredible study. I might do a podcast on that at some point.
Oh, super interesting. Did she say she has loads of time, Leigh? Did she?
No, I didn't. I was joking. I don't have loads of time.
Did she say she has loads of time?
I don't.
We knew you were joking.
Anymore. We don't. I listen. I have you two sent straight to voicemail on my phone now. I don't answer your calls anymore.
Listen, guys. I think we're going to bring this thing to a close. Before we do, Natalie,
yes,
you've been doing such a lot with football stuff, with Burnley, BBC podcast, stuff like that. What's coming up? Anything exciting that you can tell us, about in the run up to the end of the season?
Lots of things going on. Think probably the most exciting one that I've got on next Sunday. Burnley women are playing their final match of the season in
great season
at Turf. Well, bad results today. We've probably just lost the title today, which is a bit sad. They got beat by Wolves, which has meant Wolves have leapfrogged us into second, and Forest and Wolves are 2 points ahead of us. So to lift the title next week, we've got to win, and both Forest and Wolves have got to lose, which feels mathematically possible but highly improbable. So I think a shot at the Championship's gone this year. But they are playing at Turf Moor next Sunday for the first time in their history, which is super exciting. And to coincide with that, I have been given my first commentating job by the BBC.
Oh, fantastic.
I am going to be commentating on the game in the press box at Turf Moor, and I am utterly terrified. It is quite a big leap from punditry to commentating. Weirdly, I'd probably feel less nervous if I was commentating on the men's game, just because I know it.
You know it inside out.
And the women's team I know, and I'm super passionate about women's football, but like faces aren't quite as familiar, so you do have to cross-check your squad numbers. Liverpool Feds, the women's team we're playing, don't know them at all, so obviously that's going to be a challenge. And it's 90 minutes of commentating plus halftime plus the pre-show and the post-show, being able to entertain the BBC listeners. And I'm scared. I genuinely am very nervous. So that's exciting.
Oh, well, look, what an incredible opportunity. You've done so well to earn it. I have no doubt, Leigh, and I have no doubt you'll absolutely smash it, because that's what you do.
Your faith in me is wonderful. If not misplaced.
We've seen some of the journey, and have absolutely no doubts you will smash it.
Thank you.
Leigh, anything to add before we exit gracefully?
Well, I just saw Warren's post in the chat saying had he missed the password being given out for the welcome party. And I thought,
we gave that out.
What?
It was a one give only.
We're now. We've done 90 minutes of a show. I mean, for anyone that's still watching, should we let them know what the password is tonight, Des? Should we put it?
Go on, let's do it. Let's do it.
Go on. If you share the table stream again, then
Luke, there you go.
It's there for you. So that's what you're looking for. It's the $5 APAT welcome party with $1,000 T-dollars added. It's Thursday night at 8 o'clock. So April the 27th, 3 days to go on that. The password is new home, all lowercase.
We should do something funny about this. We should do some kind of sweep as to how many people on Thursday will put comments in the chat box or in Facebook saying, "What's the password?"
There'll be a lot. There'll be a lot.
So what I will say is, don't worry, you're not going to miss out, because I will be posting it up in the Facebook group during the week. I will be sending you an email if you're on our mailing list with the password as well. You'll probably get a couple of those next week. One to let you know when the password is, and one as a reminder on the day. So don't worry. We don't, as you know, we don't spam you with anything crazy. But when there's good value to be had, we like to make sure you guys know all about it. So, but if you want to get into that tournament now, I'm in there on my own at the moment. So it's 100 t-shirts coming my way. But the password is new home. It's $5 to register. Get involved in it if you can.
Fantastic.
Are we doing
Get
a show,
involved.
did you say, Leigh? Are we going to do a show on Thursday?
We are planning on
That'll
doing
be
a show on.
awesome.
Well, we now as a United fan, I've got nothing to do on a Thursday night. So now, actually, funny if we're playing Spurs on Thursday night, so I do have something to do on this. So we will be doing a show. The tournament starts at 8. I think the Man United Spurs game starts at 8. So I will most probably be shouting at the TV whilst we're doing the show, but it'll be fine. What could possibly, possibly go wrong?
Because it'll go on a while.
Let's be honest. We're playing rubbish and can't score. Spurs did what they did today. It's got 0-0 written all over it, isn't it, really? So
better not be. Better not be.
Oh.
I'm sure it won't be. I'm sure it won't be. But for those of you that stuck out another APAT show on a Sunday night, listening to us chat on about football and poker and everything else, the password is new home if you want to get in there and get registered early. Look forward to seeing you all on Thursday playing it.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again to Natalie for joining us tonight. Guys, have a good week. We will see you on Thursday night, and it should be an absolute corker. Okay, so with that, it's good night from me and the guys.